So I think relationships are an important component of all of us, right? We have this innate need to connect to another person and then people around us, right? So part of recovery is building a better relationship with ourselves, right? And then in turn with that, building a better relationship with those around us. So recovery is about looking at when we come in, what is that relationship with myself? What are some of the negative underlying messages that I say to myself that then prevents me from feeling really good about myself? So an intervention would be, when that feeling of I am powerless or I'm not good enough or I'm unworthy, when that comes in, applying skills to that so that a person can build a better relationship with themselves. So when I'm dealing with all of that under the surface, that really makes it hard for me to build a relationship with somebody else, right? And also in recovery, relationships get pretty toxic, right? So when families come in or we're dealing with relationship issues, it's a lot about rebuilding trust, creating new patterns of communication, looking at what destroys the connection between two people. So in a therapeutic process, we just kind of take a look at what are those patterns and find ways to bring people ultimately back together, whether that's through communication or rebuilding trust. So, studies kind of show that people get better when their families are on board, right? And the more support we have makes the outcome of treatment better. So, the purpose of family counseling in this kind of a therapeutic component is it gives the person who's in treatment an opportunity when that loved one comes in for a family session to really bring them up to speed on what they've been working on. It gives the loved one who's been suffering the opportunity and a safe place to kind of say, hey, here's some of the fears, right? Here's some of the destruction that has been done in active addiction. And they get a therapist to kind of sit with that with them and help them kind of feel safe to expose some of that. And then the therapist can kind of put in some best practices, some coping skills, so that both people can kind of can grow in that kind of a format. Typically in family therapy, we talk about what changes both sides needs to make in order to promote recovery, and whether that's the family, attending Al-Anon or their own support group, or maybe seeing an individual therapist. We talk about ways to rebuild trust, suggesting that the addict become accountable, predictable, responsible, dependable. How do they communicate, right? When their loved one comes out of treatment and, all of a sudden they're 15 minutes late coming home from work and that family member is thinking, oh, did they return to relapse? So what we do is build in skills so that that anxiety, right, around is relapse going to happen or what does the future look like? We try to build in those skills so that people feel safer in their next steps when they're moving forward in recovery.